They may have failed to drop the World Trade Center sign, but they're coming back. I sent out this report. Now it's an internal, but it gets all the way to the J2, which is usually a 1 or 2 star general. He rarely ever came down, right? But he comes down in the alert center, says, "Yeah, I saw your report," and this is almost literally what he said out loud. Yeah, who cares? Who cares about some raghead issuing fatwas in the desert sitting under a fig tree?
So you mentioned that the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center.
Oh, yes. This is critical to what literally became the split in the time-space continuum for me, the U.S. and the world.
Okay.
Because without this particular event, but so let me go back. See, this is Joseph Lockhart. You'll want me to talk about Joseph Lockhart from Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, a day of infamy. That never should have happened either. I can tell you in terms of the damage, let alone the warning. You know, there was a warning. The warning went out. It got rejected.
Why did it get rejected?
Because it wasn't considered important enough. The duty officer said, he decided that, it's not worth reporting, not worth sending out the alert. To move airplanes on the fails pointed nose, basically wingtip to wingtip, to move ships out or to alert the crews so they can actually man the anti-aircraft guns. But that gets, I interviewed Joseph Lockhart.
Yeah, there's a lot of documentaries out there that speculate that was, that they let that happen as an excuse to enter the war.
I think there's a both and here. It's not either or. This is all people want this simplistic.
People want it to be black and white.
It's not black or white.
Black and white.
It's not. It's not. But Roosevelt was looking for a way. He was already supporting Britain.
Many things can be true at once.
Yes, many things can be true, and they can even appear to be contradictory.
Yep. Yeah.
And yet still, yes. So 1993, I sent out a message. This is one that's going to haunt me for the rest. This is the first haunt of my life, right? Being within the deep state. Sent a message saying they may have failed to drop the World Trade Center. I said it this way. I'm paraphrasing myself. They may have failed to drop the World Trade Center sign, but they're coming back. They're coming back. We must warn all the command authorities about what their intent is. They're coming back. This is not a one-time event. This is not a one-off event.
And how?
We've been doing long-term, short-term, mid-term analysis.
So this was the analysis of it.
Yes.
That we knew they were coming back.
Remember, I'm drawing on my entire, this is the thing. People don't realize what it takes to become fully, is knowledgeable in your space. You're basically, you're not just an area specialist. In this case, I was sitting in the terrorism desk. I had to know as much as I could know that was possible. And we had all kinds of updated topic areas on terrorism, right? What's the latest? And you keep iterate, publish it, publish it, because the desk rotates. I mean, I was only there on weekends. I was a weekend warrior because I was in the reserves. Usually at least once a month. So I was there for 2 full cycles, sometimes Friday night till Sunday, sometimes from Saturday through Monday morning. And then I would go to work. And at that time I was working at Booz Allen and Hamilton, a whole nother part of my career.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I sent out this report. Now it's an internal, but it gets all the way to the J2, which is usually a 1 or 2 star general.
Okay.
He comes down to the alert center, and the alert center itself it's 24 hours. Normally run usually by a 06, usually a captain Navy or a colonel Air Force Army, and it rotates, right, depending on who's on shift and working. It can be temporarily filled by a senior like lieutenant colonel in 05. But flag level, because it's a flag level position, it's usually an 06. Generals begin at 07 and then go up to 010. And so he comes down, he literally, which is rare. He rarely ever came down, right? But he comes down in the alert center, says, "Yeah, I saw your report." And this is almost literally what he said out loud. Yeah, who cares? Who cares about some raghead issuing fatwas in the desert sitting under a fig tree. And I paused because it's like, he just dismissed it. I was classically trained in terms of intelligence. It's an art and a science. It's not perfect. Mm-hmm. It has confidence levels. Some cases you have low confidence. Sometimes you have high confidence.
Right.
We had pretty high confidence that they meant business. There had already been a series of terrorist incidents. You can go back to the Reagan, right? Remember Beirut? And we didn't do anything. He just pulled us out.
Yeah.
People have argued about why did he do that? Some say it actually emboldened the terrorists. Never mind sort of the larger geopolitical dynamics in terms of history, which in itself gets complicated enough. Okay.
Right.
But remember, a bunch of French military lost their lives too in the Bear, not just U.S. Mm. So it was clear the system, I say the system, and this is where you get in, is people, it wasn't considered. Remember, you got to remember what year it is. This is critical in context. Context is everything here. Remember, I was classically trained. Indications, warning, duty to warn, but indications. You don't want to wait until you warn. You also want to be in the decision loop, no matter what it is, ahead of time. And what's the whole focus? To keep people out of harm's way. Not just U.S. It could be allies, friendly, period. Mm-hmm. If you know there's an international airliner like KL007, I'm jumping ahead again, okay, but the same year. I mean, go back 10 years in 1983, which I have inside knowledge on that one. If you know there's an international airliner flying outside of its route, okay, and you know that it's now being perceived as an RC-135, that's how the Russians in the west, the far eastern district, perceived it. They're not going to take it too kindly. They're particularly sensitive to that part of their country. It never should have been shot down. I'm just going to tell you. But that's a what if for me because it got shot down. All those passengers on a 747.
This was what year?
1983.
83.
KL007. Korean Airlines.
Oh, yes.
I was stationed at Mildenhall, but we got all the reports. I knew people that worked at the Masawa unit. There was then a secret collection unit way up Wakanai. I can say it now, way up on the coast. It was the most northern collection, but at the time it was highly super sensitive. Mm-hmm. I knew people that worked there. And they sent out I mentioned the critic reporting system, which is supposed to get on the president's desk within 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Issued it, got rejected by NSA. Issued it again, got rejected by NSA. Then it was too late.
Oh my God.
They thought it was an exercise back at headquarters. They didn't trust the field. That's why you have the alert system. The field site is supposed to provide for that type of coverage. You didn't just have a responsibility to quote unquote spy, collect intelligence on a adversary. You also had a responsibility to the civilian side of the world. Mm-hmm. This is a civilian airliner. It's not a military airliner at all. Mm-hmm. But they thought it was an RC-135. Why? Because a Cobra Ball mission, another variant of the RC-135, I didn't fly in it, but I certainly knew people that did, happened to be in the area. What were they waiting for? A launch from Kamchatka, because that's typically how the Soviets at the time, they would launch into the Pacific. Got thousands and thousands of miles. It's out in the boonies on this huge peninsula. Mm-hmm. But we monitor it with super specialized equipment. Mm-hmm. Without going into all the details, they end up going home. They switched the tracks, so they call it, on the radar because the radar back over there wasn't that as advanced. And they kept thinking as they saw this, what they thought was an RC-135 violating their airspace as it flew over the peninsula and into the Sea of Okhotsk. And they said, "Oh, we better go up and shoot it down." The order was given to shoot it down, and they got shot down. All this was captured. Now, Reagan made a big deal out of it because it was incredibly embarrassing because it turns out they shot down a civilian airliner. Mm-hmm. In the profile, if you're on radar, the profile, even looking at it, even though a 747 is actually quite a bit larger than an RC-135, but it kind of looks the same.
Can you pull up a picture of an RC-135, Steve?
They both have 4 engines. Mm-hmm. It's similar in terms of the angle of the wing. That's one of the, plane. That's I believe is a combat scent variant.
Wow.
There's different variants, of course.
Okay.
But if you look at that and then compare it to a 747,
Very similar.
in profile, from a distance, it's similar. On the radar, a few feet here and there, can't really tell. They thought it was an RC-135.
That's a 747.
Yeah.